And so if we can solve this and not fight anymore and save lives, that's the aim of President Trump.
Okay, Steve Witkoff saying the Russians have been proactive on this as well. They have provided, of course, the Trump administration no details on what exactly Russia has been proactive on when it comes to these discussions. Meanwhile, EU leaders have met in Brussels to try to mobilise hundreds of billions in extra defence spending to counter the threat from Russia. Let's bring in Bloomberg's Oliver Crook, who is there. Ollie, there may be some movement then on the Ukraine minerals deal, it seems.
Yeah, because, Tom, there's a major difference today versus last week, right, which is that now basically the United States has paused its military aid to Ukraine, has paused most of its intelligence gathering, sharing with Ukraine. And so they're really pushing that contract forward towards Zelensky once more with those very sort of real differences in the sort of calculus. And that is something that obviously the president of Ukraine cannot ignore and is going to be forced increasingly to the table for, particularly in the fact that despite the fact that he was here in Brussels with EU leaders, there was nothing that sort of came in terms of more material support. There had been discussions about potentially another 20 billion euro package that sort of evaporated from the conclusions. And we got it very clearly from Mike Waltz speaking yesterday, saying that basically the move towards these negotiations and confidence building measures on the table, that would make the president take a hard look at removing the pause on weapons and intelligence sharing. That's directly linked basically to Ukraine's willingness to move quickly on these sort of the minerals deal with explicitly a path towards a ceasefire. Of course, the Ukrainians have been resistant to do this without the sort of guarantees of ceasefire, the guarantees of security guarantees provided by the United States. That being said, the U.S. for its part says that basically if you create economic vested interest by the U.S. in Ukraine, that sort of is a security guarantee. Of course, that ignores the fact that if, say, Russia were to reinvade Ukraine and take the territory, they could still honor the precious metals and then those sorts of contracts, which would really, if that's the only thing that it comes down to, wouldn't really be sufficient in giving the Ukrainians a kind of certainty and the kind of safety that they're anticipating.